Before I start this video, I just want to thank everyone who's subscribed so far for getting this channel past 500 subscribers. It's awesome how quickly it's all grown, and I really appreciate everyone's support and everything. So thank you again, and I hope to keep bringing more and more content out and push for 1,000 subscribers now. That's the next goal. And so I really appreciate you all subscribing. And if you haven't already subscribed, I appreciate you subscribing now and helping me push towards that 1,000 subscriber goal. Thanks again, and on to the video. The first round in the 2022 MotoGP season did not go well for world champion Fabio Quartararo. He ended up finishing 9th in the race after a difficult weekend, whereas Yamaha was struggling for outright pace. The biggest problem for the M1 was its speed down the front straight, as it was 12 kilometers an hour slower than the fastest bike through the speed traps. And given that more speed down the front straight was Fabio Quartararo's biggest request for this year, it shows that Yamaha has failed to deliver what he wanted them to this season. Luckily for Fabio, there is an open seat at every manufacturer on the grid, meaning that he'll have his choice of bikes for 2023. So let's take a look at what options are most likely for the 2021 World Champion and which one I think he'll choose. I'm going to start with KTM because I think they're the least likely team that Fabio would move to. KTM is very loyal, I believe, to all of their junior riders, so I think if any of their riders that they have with their contracts coming up, Miguel Oliveira, Remy Gardner or Raul Fernandez, were given the boot, I think that KTM would likely move someone from their junior teams up instead of bringing someone new in. Because I think they're loyal to those younger riders that they've brought up through their own system, so they're not likely to bring someone new, someone from a different team in. They'd rather promote internally. Even though they've got 3 seats available, I think that that's more likely what will happen if we saw a rider change at either of the 2 KTM teams. Similarly, Aprilia seems like an unlikely shout. They've made their big name signing in Maverick Vinales, who I don't think will do that great this year, but I don't see them changing that relationship with Maverick. I think he'll stay at the team, continue to work at it, and hopefully get better for 2023. I don't think he'll do that great this year. And similarly, Aleix Espargaro, he's doing very well at the moment, and whilst I thought that he would retire at the end of the season, I could still see that happening. At the same time, if he keeps bringing in the results as he has been recently, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't want to continue, in which case I feel Aprilia would rather stick with that stable base, keep developing the bike and not change the rider lineup anymore. And so I don't see Fabio going there because I don't think Aprilia would necessarily want him, as good as he is. Ducati also seems slightly unlikely for the place that Fabio would move if he were to move. The team, similar to KTM, I think would prefer to promote internally. They've got such a talent sitting there in Jorge Martin. Enea Bastianini has certainly just suddenly showed up and done amazingly between the end of last year and obviously first round this year. And so I think that we'll end up seeing at that second seat in the factory Ducati team either Miller stay or a promotion from one of those junior riders. So I don't think we'll be seeing Fabio in red. Particularly because I don't think Fabio would accept anything less than a factory ride, and going to a team like Parmac or Grassini or something like that would be a step back for him. Even if he got the full factory support and the factory bike, I don't see him wanting to move to one of those teams. Honda is an interesting situation because, of course, Pol Espargaro has suddenly become really comfortable with that new Honda bike, and Marc Marquez is getting better and better, and maybe he returns to his 2019 form. Who knows? I'm sure that Marc will win multiple races this year. And in that case, it's going to become particularly difficult for the Honda brass to decide who races for them for 2023, because if Pol's comfortable and looking good and winning races, then it's difficult to say, oh, we're going to get rid of him for Fabio Quartararo, as talented as Quartararo is. At the same time, Marquez is getting older, and I don't think that Pol Espargaro is the rider that Honda want to take them to World Championships. I don't think that Pol would take them to World Championships. If he did really well, he might get race wins and so on, but I don't think he's a really top-tier championship winning rider. But Fabio is, of course, already proven as a championship winning rider. And so Honda need to consider, do they want to bring Fabio in to be almost trained up by Marc Marquez, to learn from one of the greatest of all time, so that they have a future champion to continue their run at the top? And if so, should they use the opportunity now that they have with the Yamaha being slow, not so good, to convince Fabio over. Of course, Fabio, if he was offered a role or a ride at HRC, I mean, he'd be stupid to turn that down. It's one of the most successful teams in history, and as Paul said, to race in those colours is incredibly special. So I think that we could see Fabio moving to Honda if the opportunity came up. It's surprising to me, but Suzuki has genuinely become an option for Fabio to move to for 2023. They've got 2 seats open with both Mir and Alex Rinz's contracts coming up. Mir has been discussed with a possible move to Honda. That could happen, in which case that would certainly open up a seat. But either way, I'm sure if Suzuki got the option for Fabio Quartararo to move to their team, they'd be very inclined to take that. For Fabio, it actually makes a lot of sense. Suzuki ended up doing exactly what he wanted Yamaha to do with their M1 on their GSXR, that being increase the speed down the straights. It still seems to handle very well, and even though the first round result was not by any means impressive, obviously no podium, I think that GSXR will get better, and that added speed down the straight would certainly be something that Fabio would be looking for. As we know, that's what he wants from the Yamaha, and he hasn't gotten it so far. So Suzuki has become a real option for him to move to, and it'd be interesting to see how that would turn out for him. As much as I'm sure many people, including myself, would love to see a crazy rider transfer for 2023 with Fabio moving to KTM or some other wacky team to just shuffle the entire grid, I don't think any of that will happen. I think the most likely option will be that Fabio remains at Yamaha. He's going to use all these other teams, hopefully, and I'm sure they will, offering him seats and contracts for the future as a bargaining chip to Yamaha to say, I want to stay here, but I want a fully new rebuilt bike for 2023 because we need to solve our top speed issues and all the rest that Yamaha has been struggling with so far and for the past few seasons. And so I think that that's most likely what will end up happening. So no big rider shuffle. However, I hope that that means that for Fabio's sake, a full rebuild of the Yamaha will allow him to challenge again for titles. It's kind of sad if we don't end up seeing that Yamaha out front as much as it should be. It's been such a competitive bike. We know that Yamaha they'll give him anything that he wants to make Fabio stay because, of course, he is their champion of the future. He's the next one who'll hopefully carry them to multiple titles. And so I think that Lynn Jarvis will do everything to hold on to Fabio, including rebuilding that bike, making it more competitive, and that's what we'll end up seeing for 2023. Alright, that's my video on Fabio Quartararo and what his possible options are for the 2023 MotoGP season. It's far away, but it's interesting to try and work out where he might move. And I'd be interested to hear some other thoughts on where you think he could move, or what do you think the best option long-term is for himself or other teams to bring him into the fold. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. We're heading towards that 1,000 goal now that we've gotten 500, and thanks to all of those who have already subscribed and gotten us to 500, and I hope to keep building this little MotoGP community on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye.